Okay.
We're a little bit behind, but I think we can catch up. Okay, Montana Minute, Franklin.
Good weather, I guess. Good
Anything
fall
else?
weather.
Laura?
I went to the Mako conference last week, and my Montana Minute is how uplifting it is to spend 4 days with people who are so dedicated to their communities and to the state. It's exhilarating, and it's refilled me, and I'm still kind of recharged from the week.
Well, mine isn't a Montana Minute, it's a World Minute. And I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to watch the eclipse last night, but it was phenomenal. Just, our youngest daughter, Kristen, has this big camera with all kinds of lenses, and she took pictures of it just right through. And so,
Gosh.
it really was. To be here, I won't be here in the next 18 years when it happens again, of that I'm sure. But it was sure nice to be able to watch it last night. Yeah, and community update, Franklin.
Yeah, I attended the Mako conference in Missoula for 3 days.
Okay, anything exciting over there?
Oh, there was meetings going all the time. It was well organized, well put together.
They do a good job. Laura?
I also was at the Mako conference all last week. It was a good conference. There was a lot of good information. I brought you back some paperwork, some copies of stuff, and I think both Franklin and I should give full reports on what we
Yeah.
learned, not only for you, but so the public knows what we did on their
Yeah.
behalf as well.
Good idea.
And then also Fall Fest was Thursday, and that's coming up this weekend.
And I was to the Rocky Mountain Development Council Executive Board meeting. And I'm sorry to say, but they have let their director go, effective immediately. And we have another meeting this week, so see if we can get this rolling and back where it needs to be. It's a good organization. It does a lot of good for a lot of people. It's right here in Broadwater County with Head Start, Senior Center, Meals on Wheels, all those different things. And so I've always enjoyed that, but what we just went through wasn't fun. It never can be. Okay,
Your clock is wrong.
is it?
It is 10 minutes past.
Is Nicole coming up?
No, she apparently is not here today.
Okay, go for it, Brad.
Okay. Hopefully this is our last request. As you might have noticed, we are working on the road.
I did.
Yes. About half the gravel on, we had to stop to do hay. But we have the gravel, we have the trucks. We'll get it down there in the next couple of months. And then I've hired Farron Henderson to put the finished grade on it. And then the road will be finished.
Well, you, over at the Rocky 40, what I refer to as the Rocky 40, we've got lots of gravel.
We have lots of gravel, yeah.
If you take it to the bottom, I think we'd end up in China though. That's how much rock is there.
Yeah, well, we did have to separate some of the rock out.
I'll bet you did.
Yes, we did. But, you know, it's interesting that you mention that, because when I priced gravel, just to buy the gravel for the road, and then I looked at what it cost us to dig our own hole, and rent the screen, and rent the loaders, and the excavator, and things, it was almost a wash. But the good news for us was that we got enough gravel that we're graveling all the roads in the ranch. Because, you know, like most ranch roads, they all get watered by pivots,
Yeah,
and they need gravel. So that was the bonus we got out of it. I had the gravel tested, Pioneer's done all the testing, Fearon's approved of it,
good.
so it's worked out fine. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the hole yet, but
You'll think of something.
yeah, Steve
A
keeps
swimming pool,
Steve
huh?
keeps talking about a swimming pool, but I don't think that's in the cards.
Darn it.
But the only thing new on this sheet is number 9, and we have the base course in now. And all we have to put the next thing is to put the final finished gravel 3 inches on the top. And, grade it to specs. And I guess I'm good because Farron's doing it, so he's also the engineer on the project that has to approve it, so. So hopefully, I really want to get it finished this year and come back and get my final, so that we're all done with this. Now, just so you know, I probably am gonna leave it in a hayfield for a few years. I have more hay customers than I do lot customers.
I don't blame you,
Yeah.
So
that's common sense.
I'll probably just come back and ask you what I need to do to bond for the monuments and the stop signs on the crossroad, because I can't keep watering it if the stop sign's there.
Yeah.
But we'll just let it go for a couple more years if that's all right, but I would like to get the final approval and get it off your agenda, off my agenda. But as soon as, the problem is, as soon as I sell the first lot, the hayfield's gone,
That's right.
so I just thought maybe I won't sell the first lot. Or
I'll
at least
just
a
wait a
lot.
while.
Right, yeah.
Well, they just took that lots.
I still have, I think 4 or 5 lots in the original, so I tried to get those done first. But I appreciate you putting up with me all this time.
It's a nice excuse to be able to see you here.
That's right.
It's been nice to come and see you too.
Since the law change that gave us the ability to give extensions, I think it has been a
That's one of the
tremendous
best
benefit
things
to
that
both
happened.
sides.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
think for a lot of people, because, we all had money invested in no customers. We need someone, we all know how that is,
right,
And that gave us a chance to stall until hopefully the banks will loosen up a little bit.
right,
Banks will loosen up
Absolutely.
what Washington suggests it.
right. So
And what we're seeing, the interest rates are great, as you all know.
right,
However, most lending institutions want 20% down payment, and that's hard for most of the residents here.
yeah,
So that really holds things back.
Well, rumor has it that the prime is gonna go up.
It's probably gonna go up before the end of the year, you're right. Yeah, they did. We all expected it
A couple of weeks ago,
a
huh?
couple of weeks ago, and it didn't happen. But what we really need for the real estate business is to ease that down payment a little bit, because that's the thing that's hard for most people. They have cheap money available if you don't need it.
Isn't that the
right,
case?
yeah. Yeah.
So, is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
This is cut and dry, we've seen it before.
You're right.
I move that we grant you the 1-year extension that you were asking for.
And hopefully,
Yes.
I'll be back before the year's up, trying to get the final, so we can put it behind us.
I'll second that.
It's moved and seconded that we grant an extension to Double C Ranch for their subdivision. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Go forth.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks for
I'll
what you
look
do.
for these to come back and see what we've
All
got.
right.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
Brad.
Okay. Corey, Brenda, is Win here?
No, he's out on the,
A call?
he's out on the call.
Okay, come on up, you two, please. I like your comments on Facebook, what your son said to you.
fancy restaurants, I guess.
You guys think?
No, no. That's what's funny about it.
I think she did.
It looks like
I
one.
was going to court and I was wearing a suit and he said, "You look handsome like a waiter." I just wonder what restaurants has he been going to?
How does he know that you don't, huh? Okay, it's my understanding we're here to talk about indigent burial.
That's accurate. Well, and I guess what I saw on the agenda was a process. Defining the process for indigent burial. So what I'm assuming this is about is I know there was one claim submitted recently in which there was a dispute whether the person was indigent or whether so if they're not indigent, then the county wouldn't be paying for it. So I'll start with the statute, 53-3-116, and that statute says indigent assistance. It's an optional county program, and it's a county may provide assistance for indigent persons for multiple things: food, clothing, shelter, transportation, medical assistance, job search, training, all kinds of things. And then included in that is burial if the person is indigent as well. It says a county may provide for the burial, entombment, or cremation of indigents. And then a person is indigent for purposes of this subsection if the value of all their income and resources available to pay for the person's burial, entombment, or cremation at the time of death is less than the negotiated amount due to the funeral home or mortician for an indigent burial. Available income and resources may be determined by the county, and then it also has a provision where the county can seek reimbursement from their adult children for costs paid under this section, but that's also somewhat restricted. So basically the way this works is, the statute says, another statute says that parents and children have an obligation to support each other. Parents have an obligation to support their children, and then adult children have an obligation to support their parents within certain parameters. And then if there's an adult child makes a promise to provide for or pay for a service on behalf of the parent, and they have the means to do it, then it's binding on them. So the concept would be, if the county on initial look determines that this person doesn't have the resources to pay for the burial, then the county can then pay for that through the indigent burial program, if we have a program and funding for it. And then, if later we're determined that either their own assets or their children, that they have the ability to provide for that, we may, not required to, but we may go seek a reimbursement for that, and then there's some restrictions on that. It is interesting that there's no legal cases or attorney general opinions on that mechanism, which tells me that it's never been a contested case all the way to the Montana Supreme Court, or it's never been something where counties have asked the attorney general to interpret it. So, it probably hasn't happened very often, maybe never, but if it has happened, it probably got resolved at the district court level. So, other than that, I'm the new guy in terms of however this has worked in the past with indigent burial, so I'll be quiet for now.
Well, my understanding is, do we have two still?
I don't know, I submitted those quite a while back.
I believe it's still the two.
That one has kids and he wants no part of her any way, shape, or form. That the son said that he didn't want anything if she had it, and so leaves her as an orphan, I guess you'd say.
And she had no property here,
No,
declining to assist with the burial.
right.
Luckily, the funeral home was able to contact him to sign off so that she could be cremated. so that she wouldn't be sitting in the refrigeration. He had no claim to her body, he had no contact with her for 20, 30 years
Right.
anyway. And the other
And didn't
one,
want any contact. What was the other one? I can't.
and the other one, she had a daughter here. The daughter had no property, had no accounts, and she had no accounts, she had no income. She lived with the daughter and her boyfriend, and the daughter had no job.
So what do we do in these kind of cases, Corey?
Well,
They do have family, but one doesn't want any part of it and the other one doesn't have anything.
so that's just the other statute that I referred to, that's Title 40. It says, "It is the duty of every adult child having the financial ability to furnish and provide necessary food, clothing, shelter, medical attention, and burial, entombment, or creation."
Stop a
Cremation.
minute. Didn't it say who has the financial ability?
Yeah.
I think that's it.
For the indigent parent, unless in the judgment of the court or jury, the child is excused by reason of intemperance, indolence, immorality, or profligacy of the parent. So you can tell that, that's an old statute. Which generally would mean if the parent was intemperate, either excessively drunk or abusive, I'm guessing, indolent, lazy, immoral, or profligate, so they might have a lot of kids scattered around the country. Those categories of parents' activity would excuse a child from paying. So I don't know enough about this relationship to know. What,
Now, if the child lives out of the state of Montana, do they fall under the Montana law?
yeah, but then you're into a case of finding a way to compel them to pay if they're out of state.
And that's the issue with the law.
Do they have any property in the state?
No.
And one doesn't have any property at all, is my understanding.
So there's a whole body of case law on difficulties of somebody in the state of Montana suing somebody who is not in Montana. Basically, they said they've never consented to their personal jurisdiction, so, to our personal jurisdiction, so. So if we have two children and one's unable to pay, the other one is unwilling and we can't find a way to compel them, then we're back to,
When he was contacted, he said, "I don't care if my mother is a millionaire." He goes, "I want nothing to do with her." He had no idea, he had no contact with her over the past 30-some years or whatever it was. He goes, "I want absolutely nothing to do with her estate, nothing." He had no idea what her situation was. And that's when we asked, well, would you at least sign off so that she can be cremated? Because, I mean, she sat up there for quite a few days.
Mhm.
Because you can't even cremate without somebody, a blood relative, signing off. Otherwise you have to bury him, and like we did to one guy.
Oh, out here.
well,
And he at least did that, because she sat up there.
and the other one lives in Montana but doesn't have any means,
She has nothing,
and the deceased has no means, no assets.
nothing.
There's a couple of questions that I have, Madam Chair, if I may. We dealt with this, there's been 4, since we've been on the commission in 2009, that I can remember. One was determined to be indigent, and they are buried today at Centennial Cemetery. There was another one that we got a call on maybe 2 months ago, and the hospital called and said, "We have an indigent burial, the county's gonna need to pay." Within 15 minutes, we had a call from Wynn saying, "That is not an indigent burial, they do not fit the definition. We haven't acted, we haven't been asked to act." In my mind, that's done and over. These 2 in question, we dealt with last summer, 2014, June-ish. And they were both brought up about a week apart. And Wynn came forward and said, done the research on this, neither of these two fits the definition of indigent. I do not suggest that you guys pay these indigent burials. We met a couple of times with the local funeral home, and we kind of had a back and forth between them and the sheriff's department on, does this fit, should we pay?
Right.
We opted at the end of that not to. Then in January, apparently there were claims being sent to the county that we didn't see, where there was interest fees for not paying, or late fees being compiled over a 6-month period for this. We met with Wynn again, June-ish, July-ish, and he said, no, these do not fit the definition. I do not suggest you pay. We opted not to pay. And then Franklin, as chairman, brought the claim to Brenda, who wrote a letter who said, yes, you guys should pay. My request for a policy, and that's my view for this meeting, is I would like to request that the sheriff's office speak with a unified voice. I don't think it's healthy for the county, for the undersheriff and the sheriff to be coming to a public meeting and be sitting on opposite sides and both giving us their opinion of what we should do. In my opinion, the decision on these two people sailed a year ago. We opted not to do it, and my opinion is unchanged. But what I'm looking for, and Corey, you were CC'd on an email. I asked Harold and Brian at Mako, what do we do in this kind of a situation? Their response was unified voice, and if you don't have that, you need a policy to establish how to get a unified voice. So I guess that's all I have.
So where do we go from here, Corey?
Well, I would say, first of all, with the two that are left unresolved, I mean, at a minimum, we need to give the answer to the funeral home one way or the other. The answer is either they're not indigent, the county's not paying it, you need to seek the money from somewhere else, or it's, we are paying it, and here you go, and why don't you cut us a break on the late fee, be my guess. I don't know these people, I don't know anything about them, so I would say I'm not the best voice on whether or not we should pay it. As far as what the process is, I'd say there's nothing that says that it has to be the sheriff or the coroner as the person that's saying, recommending yes or no on the indigent burial. There's nothing that says they can't be, so I'd say figure out who you want to be that voice, to do the work, to do the whatever amount of research is required, and appoint him or her, as long as it's not the county attorney, and establish what criteria you're gonna look at. It's criteria that's in the statute, their assets, and whether they have children that are, adult children that are gonna pick up the tab.
I did send an email after that email back from Harold to Wynn, and I said, would you be willing to continue this since you've been doing it for so long? He said, yes, I guess I can do that. I didn't bring a copy of that email, but I did think, this is kind of a county commission decision, so I didn't do anything beyond that. And we
You sent
did,
that to Harold?
I sent it, the request to Wynn, just because he had been already acting in that capacity. And if we do put together a policy, is he willing? His answer was, yes, I guess I can do that. But it shouldn't be just me going to Wynn, it really should be us collectively working together to have a policy set up that everybody can agree on. But we did let the funeral home know our decision about a little over a year ago now. So it's,
Well, so
I
why are
don't
they
think
sending
this has
bills
been,
for interest?
that I don't know, and that was a surprise to me, and why it started in January and not immediately after our discussions in June, I don't know that either. But in my mind, the decision was made in June-ish. And why it's coming up again in January or now, I have no idea.
Well, I know Randy came and met with you guys. I don't know that you guys ever gave him an answer back since then.
Well, maybe we can send him another letter and just just make it, you
Has he
know,
come to the
solid.
meeting and
Have
he
you
had?
guys established an indigent burial contract amount with him?
And that is important, because that will probably be a
When he come to
reduced
the
amount.
meeting, he had the information that what Mar County for Indian burials, and I think Jefferson, or a couple of them like that. It seemed to me like we kind of agreed on that $2,500 figure.
Is that what the
Right.
cost is right now from those two bills?
No, and we didn't, and no, it isn't. I don't know that I have the claim with me, I think I might have given it back to Tammy.
But I can tell you from the research I did,
Oh, I do have the numbers.
the-
2540 with about $243 in late fees, and then 2635 with about 240. So I don't see a rhyme or reason between
one
the
local gal
pieces.
was completely indigent, her daughter does not have a job and lives with her boyfriend. So I don't know where Wynn's getting the money from unless she expects her boyfriend to pay for it, which we can't.
But that's not fair to him.
Which
You
one
can't-
is this? This one or this one? Who's the one?
This one. And then this is the gal who was living in the camp trailer with it, KOA, and her son has not had any contact with her for 20 or 30 years. So I think that also falls under the statute as far as indigent. And she was living with her boyfriend in the camp trailer, it's his camp trailer.
Well, is
I
there,
don't even know if it was boyfriend, they were just friends.
the other thing that you should do is require just, whatever that result of that research is have that in writing, so we can all look at what the assessment is.
Just because she has a son that has, you know, if there's no contact between the two of them.
I don't think he would admit to having a mom.
Well, he wasn't even gonna sign off on it. Like he said, I don't know if she's a millionaire, I don't want any, I mean, that would have gone to the state if she would have been.
But the issue brought up a year ago, is that the fault of the citizens of Broadwater County that he is estranged from his mother? I don't think so.
Well, I think he said that Lewis and Clark County has 17 a year average or something like that.
Indigent?
Wasn't that?
No, they're up to, I think when I talked to Mickey, they've got 30-some now.
But
a
we
year.
should have a policy
year.
that defines what indigent is. We can't have it going off of who's friends with who likes who. We have got to have a policy that sets parameters, that sets a price. We have nothing at this point. This is an optional county program. Are we interested? We do have an indigent fund, and we've been assuming $1,000 per. Other counties may be doing $2,500, but this commission hasn't voted for that. So we need a policy in order to, I think, move forward with any of these. And in my opinion, I will reiterate, the decision sailed on those two. I don't think we should be going back and revisiting at this point. I think today's meeting is about setting up a policy so that everybody's on the same page moving forward.
Could you kind of pen out something for policy for us,
Well, I can
based on?
put
the code?
together a memo of here's what the statute requires, and here's how you can do it. It'll be a couple of pages as well.
Yeah, according to the statutes and everything, everything falls under indigent burial. And
I'll look and see if there's any regulations or administrative regulations. I doubt there are. I'll look at that.
We wouldn't have a policy on indigent burial within my office.
Right.
The county should
Correct.
correct policy.
And the two jointly, your office and the commission.
So the question is who you want to appoint to be in charge of that. I would say that you probably can't appoint the undersheriff unless the sheriff agrees to that, because he works for her. Logical person. It could be a coroner, since they're gonna be the one that first be aware of it, have access to some documents that other people may not get access to. There's no reason it has to
I
be.
mean, we even go to the state through Matic to see if we can find any living relative.
What does matter?
It tells you where this person has lived throughout their life. You know, to make contact.
Okay, I can work on that.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
you get back to us? That'd be great. Thank can't believe it, but Mike, we're right back on time, exactly.
Well,
We better argue some more.
yeah. Yeah, we got a lawyer here, we gotta argue.
The issue is if you have one lawyer that's arguing himself, you really got trouble.
How about 3 lawyers?
Yeah, John used to say if you have 4 lawyers in a room, you have 3 legal decisions, 3 legal opinions. No, 5, more than the attorneys.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Mike.
Mike Coggy, DES Coordinator for the record. It's kind of a monthly update as well as a couple items here. This is my little, yeah.
Records.
There you go, Mrs. Hill. Well, as you aware, we're on a pre-disaster mitigation plan update. Daphne with Tetra Tech. Moving right along. Let's see, 2 weeks ago we met in the morning at our forage building. We spent 2 hours on hazard identification, risk management. She wants to get together a little bit more in the future. She hopes to have a draft plan by late December for us to look at. And then we have to run by Montana DES, and we have to run through FEMA to approve it. Next item there, Homeland Security grant has been approved for $99,000, about $500 for additional radios. Talked to Montana DES grant specialist this morning that they should be giving us that money here real soon, giving us an award letter. Until we get an award letter, we can't spend it. We also have a U.S. Department of Transportation grant for about $8,200 for all agency hazmat training. That is also pending. We'll do that pretty soon. This morning I want to visit with you about the Emergency Coordination Center, the enhanced telephone, cell, and 2-way radio. I presented a bid
Thank you.
from Capital Communications to put a little antenna up on top and coax cable so we can plug a 2-way radio base station in. We also want to put in a cell booster, which will boost multiple cell phones and Wi-Fi, and that's his estimate there. On the second page here, page 2, I'm proposing to bring that out of the CIP for communications, and that gives you an even balance of that was printed on the 14th of September. So I am proposing to, based upon Commission approval this morning, is have Capital Communications go ahead and do that. What they're gonna do is pull a tripod on top of the building itself on the south end, has to be above the kitchen, and a 5-foot mast. Then they'll run a coax cable on down, and it'll come into the old utility room there, where they store chairs and tables and stuff. And then also in the building, he'll put a little Wi-Fi booster. You're gonna have to go outside, hook up on an antenna so to pick up cell coverage, like from the different cell carriers. It'll either bring, Verizon or AT&T or whatever people are. It just brings that signal inside the metal building so that we have better cell coverage. And then eventually we want to get some cable from CenturyLink, used to be called Quest. They're gonna donate us their cable, and we're gonna bury that underground. Mike Myers and Eric agreed to do that. They'll bury it for us. And we'll bring it, that's from Docks Way. Docks Way is the original airport road. The airport road is moved over to the east. And there's a pedestal there. When the fire camps come out there, they've just been running that under the road, scratch gravel, and they run it on the fence. You probably see that cable hanging here to this very day. We want to put all that underground and kind of hardwire the building with, Mike thinks he can do a lot of that himself. CenturyLink's gonna give us the cable. We're gonna run 6 pair of wires for a total of 12 phones. We can either use it as a fire camp if Forest Service leases the facility during fire season. They can just activate those phones. Those phones will be activated. And then we're gonna hardwire inside the building with the permission of the 4-H board, put some phone jacks in, you just plug in. We're working closely with the 4-H board on that. I did talk to John Rouser, and he said Mike and Eric can go ahead and fix the exit light in the back. It was burnt out. It's supposed to be, and then they have those spotlights supposed to come on, in case you in the middle of the night there. Of course, now we have the generator, but still you need emergency flashlight lights, so you can exit the middle if we have like a group of 200 people out there for dinner at night, and the lights go on. It'd be dangerous. And then he suggested, Mike Myers suggested we put an exit light up over the main entrance door there. There's fairgrounds, there's no light there. But he said he can handle all that stuff within his maintenance rate and stuff. When he gets time, he's got some priorities around the courthouse there he's got to take care of. 911 center and the espresso machine, and different things. He's blow fuse. But anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. And you got any questions for me?
I don't know, it sounds good. I guess I do. So with that antenna on top of that building, got all those big cottonwoods, are they gonna run into trouble getting signals?
He didn't think so. It should be just fine. Just like you are in the building right now and we want to talk on a two-way radio, it often goes through. It's the metal frame of the building. And then if you have a base station, you hook the coax cable and then you're broadcasting out. You hit the repeater battery and hit other vehicles out in the field or other responders with handhelds. It shouldn't be any problem at all. It's the tree shouldn't be a problem. Might be a problem with cell coverage, internet coverage, but we'll have to kind of deal with that problem. We have to experiment and see. We may have to put an antenna, small antenna on a pole or somewhere on the other side, because most of the signal for cell phones comes from the west. Either comes off the water tower right here, or comes up on the hill there on the limestone hills. I think there's some towers, and then there's also a tower to the east, which is out there at Leavengood, I believe that's their property, another tower. So those trees shouldn't bother that at all. Just one of those things, electronically, you have to try, experiment. If it doesn't work, then you try to relocate your antenna. We don't have the funding to hire a company for several $1,000s to come in, do it, set up equipment, test that kind of stuff. I don't think we're gonna put in a microwave or put another repeater site somewhere, one that we do that. That's a requirement for FCC. But we're just putting in just a small, just like a 100-watt radio in a vehicle. You don't have to have FCC approval for that. We're not gonna have a 1,000-watt radio or anything like that. It's just actually a mobile radio that goes in a vehicle that's got a converter in that converts 110 power down to a 12-volt radio. And it's broadcasting, just something to put in there temporary. Just like the fire teams use, when they come to town, they want to put a repeater up. It's not a lot of water. But we just kind of want to get that ready,
Good
in
idea.
case we have something.
We hope not.
And I was out there this morning at about 10 minutes to 9 with Montana DES. They have 2 new grant specialists that just hired on this their second month to stand by and see if the generator automatically kicks on exactly at 9 o'clock. Fired right up. It runs for about 20 minutes. It's a weekly test that goes through that process. It charges the battery to the generator as well as it just goes through a cycle and stuff. And just like the generator here this morning, at 8 o'clock, one on the detention center out here in the alley kicked off. Mike wants it set up that way early in the week, so if there is a problem, he can get a hold of the technician. The county has a service contract with T&W Enterprises, the guy that was out there that when we had it installed, and they work on these generators. We call him. He wants to do it early in the week. If there's a problem, they can get him out here before the week. As well as they go out and check, just make sure they keep up. In the hospital, I think they do theirs, on a Wednesday. And then Rich Maycheck, he's their maintenance supervisor, he checks. That's just a process for all these emergency backup generators. Tim has one at the water tower, he has one out here by the sump station out there by the shop, the county shop. And he checks those on Mondays also. Just make sure they kept on and charge the batteries up. We just got a 12-volt truck battery to give it a start. And then they automatically come on in time cycle, come on once a week. So make sure when the power does go on, they work. Any questions, Commissioner?
When it comes into that utility room, now, is there gonna be jacks, or is that just gonna be kind of a junction area there, and then we'll go out for different?
I think that should just be a junction area. We'll have to visit with the 4-H board and see if, what they would like to have us do. They have, kind of on the walls in the 4-H building, they got that pegboard,
Mhm.
which is just nailed up there, and behind that there's insulation, fiberglass insulation. Excuse me, it all depends what the fair board wants us to do, allows us. It's kind of, that's kind of work. But at least we'll get that far inside the building. So it's cold weather, we don't have to have a, we working outside.
Hey, Mike, the,
Talk too much.
the 5-foot tripod for the
Yes.
Antenna,
Mhm.
is that gonna be in the airport fly zone at all?
It's actually gonna be lower than those cottonwood trees.
Okay, very good. And then
Matter of
my-
fact, I'm surprised they let you grow those trees that high.
Well, they've had us top some of them for that. Would you just double check with them just to make sure? Bob Hollister's the chairman.
Oh, okay.
Gary
Gary Schmidt, looked into that.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good.
He's Gary Schmidt, I guess we have a contract with him to work on keep the repeater towers going up here on the Limstones. And he came from there he was working on a microwave system, came out there and said that this is no problem at all. Actually, arena bar is gonna be, the roof is taller than the Centennial and that'll be
Oh, easy,
for
good.
the roving arena. Or the fairgrounds.
Out
Stands.
the bleachers there?
The bleachers, yeah, this will be below that,
Okay,
so he said he should be. We won't need to have, we won't need a strobe light or anything like that.
okay.
Well, and in answer to your question about how did you get to put the trees there, I planted those trees myself. They weren't any taller than I am.
They're nice trees.
Yeah, they are.
What are they, a poplar?
No, cottonless cottonwood.
Cottonwood, well, that's smart. Nice trees. You got some other nice trees started out there, I think. Pat Plattenberg has
Mhm.
planted a lot of trees out
Well, and some of the trees now, I mean, because that's been back in the 80s,
there 30 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got a forest around my house.
Yeah.
Now, every year plant more trees. Plant trees, yeah. It's nice to have a shade,
Mhm.
windbreak. Yeah. When we first moved out there, let's see, that was back in '66 when we first started farming out of Toston. And we came from Deer Lodge, and it was just out there on the Toston Flat. And without any irrigation water, just sand just blows and blows and blows. I made up my mind, when I build, I'm gonna grow a forest. Yeah, I got hundreds of trees. Always planting every year. Love trees, yeah.
Mhm.
I do too.
Any other questions, commissioners?
One thing, I would move that we do grant you the use of the money for this project from the CIP for communications.
No, second.
It's been moved and seconded, the grant approval to Mike spend money to Capital Communications and others
Out of the CIP account.
out of the CIP account. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
That's all I have, commissioners. Have any other questions about stuff we're doing?
Well, just continue to go forth and conquer.
Well, thank you. We got a big weekend coming up.
We do.
Let's don't have any injuries.
Oh,
One of the things I want to do, remember last year during the rodeo parade, back on Second Avenue, we had an injury. I'd like to use that as a exercise, like an incident command type thing, plan that a little better, how to handle that. We've got all of our emergency vehicles, 2 ambulances, all these fire trucks tied up in that parade. And then if there is an emergency, it's hard to get them off the street. I need to work with the sheriff, fire chief, Mary Mystic, ambulance, kind of think about that. Sometime we're all caged up there on Broadway in a parade, we might have something going on somewhere else in the county. It's hard to get those vehicles out of town. People don't understand the firearms are blowing and all that stuff. And, citizens don't understand that might be a real emergency, they might want to get through town to go somewhere.
Mike, would you include Jennifer Dalrymple on that list
Sure,
too?
absolutely.
She's the chairman of the parade.
Oh, Jennifer's,
Committee?
okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah,
We'll start there
yeah,
and just see what you kind of like. That was just kind of a rude awakening for us all.
right?
How do you
Yeah.
spell Jennifer's last name?
Dalrymple, it's D-A-L,
R-Y-M-P-L-E,
thank you very
R-Y.
much.
How was it?
R-Y-M-P-L-E.
Jen's worse than K-O-E-H-N-K.
Right, yes.
Hers bad. I will.
That's an excellent idea, Mike. I know we have talked for years. What on earth are you gonna do? Everybody's right here. Everybody's right here. I mean,
They ought to just only be able to put one ambulance in the Perry Grill.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
visit with Mary and the hospital administrator, kind of let them make that decision. But, you know, during wildfire season, we have a wildfire, any of these three we had this summer, we don't send all wildland fire trucks and tenders to that one fire. We leave some of that stuff parked at Rayersburg and tossed. Dunkirk, Winston, K-Vale car accident or another fire. We don't take it all, because then we don't take all volunteers either. Because often we do have second fires. You know, when we were out at Eustis, we had one up here on Kearney, Craig.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about that fire?
Up close to Graded town.
Very
And same
close
with
to
ambulance,
Graded
well,
town.
we might be out at Winston, you know, on a car wreck, and we might have something down here south of Toston, or up here on the, you know, I just think we need to kind of visit with our leaders. And then we thought we'd use this kind of like as a training exercise, use that incident
Yeah.
command system to prepare for an event, not just an emergency, but an event. And coordinate a little bit better with the deputies and the fire department that's closing the streets. And kind of figure out what's our contingency plan. Remember how we got together that Tuesday before the Cabin Gulch fire?
Mhm.
And talked a little bit about what would happen in our county if we had a wildland fire, how would the sheriff respond? What kind of procedure would they have? The Forest Service, the NRC, fire, ambulance, were all there at the fire station, we had pizza. And that actually gave us a heads up that very next week we had the Cabin Gulch fire. And everybody knew their different roles and responsibilities. I thought maybe we can do this here before the parade.
Hey, Mike, would you add another name too?
Oh, absolutely.
Philip Knab is the chairman of general operations, so the closed streets, parking, crowd control, that all falls on him.
Okay,
So he'd be another one if you're focused on this event, to talk to as well.
okay.
Is Jennifer in charge of the Fall Fest parade or the big parade?
The Fall Fest Parade,
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kathy
Who's it?
Toombs
right,
Kathy too.
yeah,
is in charge of the big parade,
Okay.
I guess.
Rodeo parade.
Yeah,
right.
there you go. The Sunnydale.
Okay, I'll get a hold of them. I hadn't planned anything for Fall Fest, that's pretty much well planned by Rotary. They don't have, for Rotary, you don't put all the fire trucks and ambulances in that parade, do you?
Mhm.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, it's for military, it's to honor military and emergency services,
oh,
so
okay.
we expect to have,
We may not be able to get anything together between now and this weekend, but I'll visit with Jennifer
yeah.
and Phil.
And maybe for the future years, both before the rodeo and Fall Fest, to have this kind of a discussion is a good idea.
Okay, Phil's good, because he understands his own command
Yeah,
with Forest Services.
yeah.
He does a good job.
Well, you bet he does, the whole group does. It's nice of that big man,
Mhm.
it's coming up fast.
You know, and I'm not so sure it isn't the biggest event in the county.
Do you have any hay exhibits for the Graveler Ranch?
No, we don't.
Coming in from Topsted, I see quite a few Flynn Ranch.
Is that right?
Yes, you better get out there. Wow.
My guys are just trying to get the hay out.
Play
Then
hard.
fall binding.
Hey, get out of here, Pine Drop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
You're up next.
Mr. Reeves? No, actually, I'm Gene Aiken, I work for Reese and Associates, so, yeah, and I'm here for that, family transfer. And there's some signature lines that we Morning.
Good morning.
and welcome.
Thank you. Nicole wasn't there, apparently she's off all week.
Right, so she left, let's see who else in my office, so we could do there.
Anyway, what's going on is Dan Pate is going to be the recipient, based on your approval, of a land transfer piece out of Tex and Yvonne Pate's original piece, or what they currently have. And he just wanted a piece to build a house on, and they cut it out actually right where it comes in, that first little piece. I believe there's just a hair over 20 acres in there out of the original piece that they want to transfer to his name. So
This is a family transfer, did
it
you say?
is. It is. It's from Tex and Yvonne to Dan.
Okay, and that's his parents.
Yep.
All right.
Mhm.
These are pretty simple in my mind. Unless there's further discussion, I'll move that we support this family transfer for the Pate family.
I'll second it.
It's moved and seconded that we grant approval to Dan Page and Tex and Yvonne regarding family transfer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
That's probably worth our time, is it, Jim?
Oh, I don't mind calling on here, obviously, and the Reeses are in Helena. And he actually was doing some banking today on a whole nother piece, so he asked if I would do this for him. I said, sure, I'm right here.
No, we have to sign that
Excellent.
one.
I was just gonna bring right here, would you like them just left here?
This is the one we need to sign and give back to you.
Okay, and then this one, actually, again, I think these both go on the Mylar copies.
I don't think we sign these, do we?
No, there was no place on there for clerk and recorder information is what this is.
Oh.
Well, Nicole specifically said that she wanted me to bring this for the Mylar copies. This is what she had sent to me. And this is what it came out, just,
Okay,
to put them on there.
yeah.
And again, I think she specifically, for the purpose of recording, wanted them on the Mylars, not the others, but
Well,
whatever,
actually, I need the information on the others, but I
Okay.
didn't.
Will this work for you then, or is there something else I need to get
Yeah,
to?
that'll work.
Okay.
I'll figure out how to do it on
Okay.
the others.
Okay. Let's go for that.
Just one thing here, then I'll write it over.
Okay.
All right.
Do I need anything else, or,
And your last name again?
pardon me?
Your last name again?
Ahern,
Okay.
Jim Ahern.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good
Have a
to
good
see
day.
ya.
See you.
I think we got a tab in the mail for. What?
Before we do mail, can I just ask a quick question?
Certainly.
We met with Linda a couple months ago before she retired. She brought forth a job description for the public health nurse. She's retiring the 8th of October, which is coming right up. If we decide to advertise in-house, we can do that for 5 days. Interview at the beginning of next week, and then have somebody in place, potentially if they're in-house, by the following Tuesday, right after Columbus Day. Are you guys okay with us going ahead and advertising for this position in-house?
I'm
at the
fine with
amount
that. I don't see
Linda
anything wrong.
proposed?
I think it's fine.
Okay, Franklin?
Yeah, I totally.
All right, I'll ask Debbie to do that, and here's the other thing with that is, if she does it starting today at noon, and we do it for 5 days, we could conceivably be done by next Monday at noon. If we went until 5 and then interviewed however many people we have, I could help with that. If it's after next Monday, I can't, so it'd be up to you guys. So whatever you guys wanna do on that is fine with me.
Well, let's see if we can do it as we thought. Advertise start today, start interviewing next week.
Okay, all right, then I will let Debbie know and get that started today right at lunch.
Because it's my understanding that both girls that are working here are gonna apply.
Okay, all right,
So,
all right, and of course, we have a nurse at the detention center too, who would be qualified. So, yeah, and, you know, just because it's public disclosure, if we did not feel that anyone who applied in-house was, you know, qualified for that particular position, we are not obligated to fill it in-house. We could at that point run an ad out of house. So that would be something you guys would be able to determine.
Okay. I have claims in the amount of $67,174.08.
Move to pay the approved claims in said amount.
I'll second
Moved and seconded, pay the claims $67,174.08. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Is this vigilante in here for TV district, is that to take the money from Feld? What's the deal?
No, I don't, I think the reason that is set aside is because we still need the information from the auditor that was shared with Franklin about what they wanted us to do regarding the account for the TV district, so that Tammy knows where to pay that from. Did you do any research to follow up on that to share with us,
it. No,
Franklin?
I thought that gal was supposed to get back to us, or send a memo or something.
And, oh, did she tell you that on the phone?
No, I believe that's just going busy, just in the hallway here that time.
Can you follow up, because obviously that hasn't come to us, and now we have a bill that we need to pay, because we kinda need to know what it was she was expecting of us. And before we have a situation, we have a late charge. Can I get an affirmative from you, for the record?
I don't know who to contact.
You know who talked to you in the hall, though, that was Kim, our auditor. You can get her phone number from Debbie. So since she talked to you, I think it's reasonable to ask you to give us or share with us what it was that you and she discussed.
All I remember, she had some suggestions.
Can you share those with us, those suggestions?
Well, I don't remember what they were. You heard as much as I did, both. You're standing right here.
Franklin, I was not involved in that conversation. Would you please follow up with her so that we are fully informed of what needs to be done with the finances of the county? You were chairman at the time, would you please? And would you please reflect that I have asked for this information now twice from Commissioner Salifka, and apparently he is refusing to speak with me anymore.
Got an
Actually, it's
answer?
concerning the vigilante electrical bill, right?
Mm-hmm. Broward County Commissioners, a letter from Forest Service.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second? I'm sorry. Kim is not, the auditor is not gonna care what the bill is to, if it's vigilante electric. What she is concerned about is what account TV district bills get paid from. That's what you need to follow up on, Franklin. It doesn't matter if this is a bill to anybody, it's where do we pay it from that's the issue. Sorry.
Okay, from Forest Service. Dear Commissioners, I'm writing to introduce myself to you. My name is Leanne Martin. I am the Regional Forester for the Forest Service Northern Region. As you likely know, the Northern Region covers public management in the state of Montana, Northern Idaho, North Dakota, and parts of South Dakota. Having the privilege of working here in the Northern Region feels very much like coming home. I was born in Clarkston, Washington, and spent several of my growing up years in part of northern Idaho and Montana. Although I move around a lot and lived in many different parts of the U.S., my dad also worked for the Forest Service. I ended up back in this part of the country when I started college. I attended both Washington State University and the University of Idaho. While attending college, after graduation, I worked in this region, spending several years working in the Clearwater Kootenai National Forest. Since leaving the region, I have spent time working in several forests in the eastern region of the Forest Service. Time in Southwest region and the last several years in Washington, D.C., where I most recently served as Director of Ecosystem Management Coordinator. My first few months here have been spent getting settled in and starting to get caught up on exciting things that are happening throughout the northern region. And most recently, the fire season. As time allows, I would love to enjoy discussing our common interests and the opportunities we have to work together. If you'd like to get together by phone or in person sometimes in the future, contact Carol Moore and then her phone number. Carol would be happy to work with you to coordinate our respective schedules. Thank you for your consideration and thank you for your interest in the mission of the U.S. Forest Service and the wonderful natural resources we have in our natural forests and grasslands across the northern region. Sincerely, Leanne Martin.
She was at the Forested Counties meeting,
Oh,
at
was
the
she?
conference. Yep.
Here's kind of a newsletter from Farm Service Agencies. You did this one, Franklin?
No. Just back there real quick.
Thank you.
Partnering to improve lives in the Administrative Office, Center for Mental Health. Dear Commissioner Obert, you find enclosed an invoice for your county's mental health meal levy money. Amount is based on your county's 2014 census. Please make checks payable to Center for Mental Health. If you have any questions, please contact me. Sincerely, Tanya Wenninger. And the amount is $56.67.
We had a discussion about that in the Health and Human Services Committee meeting at NACO. We had Dan Villa with the Governor's Budget Office on that very issue. That's the reason I put it in the mail. I don't know if we're supposed to pay that. I did try and call them last week when I got back, and she was on vacation, and I forget who it was. Tanya? She was on vacation. So what was talked about, unless there's a piece I'm misunderstanding, is that either we pay this and it's reimbursed to us through our entitlement share, or it comes directly out of our entitlement share and we no longer pay this. I need to do a little bit of research, but I just wanted you two to both be aware of what the question was and what that discussion was.
Let's just leave it in this folder then.
Perfect. I'll pull it out to get the phone number and follow up with that as soon as she gets back. Actually, if you just leave it in the mail, that'll just keep it in a good, safe place.
A letter from DEQ, and it's just public notice. Tennyson Family LLC for a subdivision wastewater treatment facility. And that's all. This is from the Forest Service. Dear concerned individuals, corporations, and organizations, pardon me, enclosed is the periodic sale announcement for Custer Gallatin National Forest for the period beginning October 1st, ending September 30th of 16. The sale program is divided into 2 time periods as follows: October 1st to March 31st, April 1st through September 30th of 16. If you have any questions concerning this program allotment, please contact Dwayne Thornburg, Vegetation Program Manager for Custer Gallatin National Forest. Signed, Mary Erickson. Another letter from the Forest Service. Enclosed is the periodic sale announcement for the Helena Lewis and Clark National Forest for the period beginning October 1st of 15, ending September 30th of 16. The sale program is divided into 2 periods as follows: October 1st through March 31st of 16, April 1st through September 30th of 16. If you have any questions concerning the program announcement, contact the individual range listed below. And this is a newsletter from MDT.
Madam Chair, if I can direct your attention to page 2, down in the top left-hand corner. On the other side, I can't read what it says, that bridge project honored with national award. That is our Deep Creek Bridges, and this commission wrote a support letter for that award. So they did get it.
I haven't been through the canyon since we did all that,
Yeah,
but it's nice.
it's a lot nicer, absolutely.
Just a quick thing, an MDT bridge replacement project received honors in the 2015 American Transportation Award competition. The project Deep Creek Canyon Weekend Bridge Replacement won the Best Use of Innovative category for the Western Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, and was named as one of the top 10 in the nation. They replaced that in 6 hours. So,
Yeah, pretty incredible.
mm. That take that and read it?
Yeah.
Actually, all three of us got
Already-
that, Franklin
already
already has
have
it.
this.
Oh, okay.
This is
I would like to have a copy for the commission office, just because we did have a part in that,
Mhm.
granting of that award. So if you'd pass that back when you're done, Franklin will put it in the pile to be recorded. Thank you.
And this is Mako, the minutes.
Those are all the minutes from the last conference, and those will be in the commission office for anyone who wants to see those at any time. This is the minutes from the meetings we go to a conference on behalf of the citizens of the county.
Whoever takes those minutes has their work cut out.
Well, there's a number of people. Each different subcommittee has somebody taking the minutes, a commissioner. Each different forested counties, hard rock counties, and then for the general sessions. So there's probably a dozen people taking the minutes.
How many people were at that conference?
I think at one point they said one of the breakouts had 350 people in it. So I'm gonna say about 350. That probably wouldn't include all the different vendors, and then, of course, the experts that come. We have county attorneys and clerk recorders, justice of the peaces, and a couple of sheriffs. Brian Gukin was there from Dalton County. And then the speakers, the guest speakers, we had the Attorney General, Tim Fox, and also Governor Steve Bullock as speakers. So, good number of people.
It's a good organization.
Yes, it is.
She used to be a committee, recorder for a long time.
Yeah, she's the one who beat Cindy Johnson.
Oh, yeah. And that kind of surprised me after Cindy had been in there so long.
Yeah. You want me to just not put it in the back in the envelope? So I'll just put it loose in the table in our office, just throw away the envelope.
Is Julie coming up?
I would imagine.
Madam Chair, there's two sets of minutes to be approved.
All right. I have minutes from September 14th and 16th.
Move to approve the minutes for September 14 and 16 as submitted.
Yes, sir.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted for September 14th and 16th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. And we've got a Montana magazine. Montanan, I should say. It's a grizzly paper. Do either one of you want to take this and read it, or just put it downstairs with our,
I already did. I'd be more than happy to put it downstairs with the rest of the stuff for the public to view.
did you want it, Franklin, or just let it
Just put
go?
it downstairs here.
Come on up, Julie, you're on.
I don't
don't have anything else to say, other than, you have the changes, we have a public hearing. Okay. Questions from the public for Julie? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt revisions to section 6 and 14 on on-site treatment with water in Broadwater County.
Before we vote, I did some checking into this with other commissioners at conference last week. The timing was nice for this issue. Some points were brought up that I think is important to share. The regulations we have come from TEQ, and then we, I guess, perfect them to fit Broadwater County. So this is a change after these have been adopted from the state. But I asked other counties how they handle this particular situation, and every county does it a little bit differently. But what some counties told me, some commissioners, is that they don't necessarily have the same parameter put in because of the economic benefits. What they described was, and we all know this from experience as well, a lot that is subdivided can still be taxed at ag rates. It might be taxed at tract land. A development that is undeveloped is a drag on the community economy. There's very little taxes going in to pay for many of the services that are still required. You can still have fire, road improvements, maintenance. So when a home goes in, then you start actually collecting a bit more money to pay for those services. There is a sweet spot with any subdivision where you get to a point where there's enough homes in the subdivision so that it is an economic benefit to the county rather than an economic loss. So what some commissioners told me is they keep it as loose to follow the state as possible to encourage the development of already developed properties. For subdivisions that are already platted and have final approval, the more homes that can be put into the subdivisions, the better for the county and the citizens. So that is one other piece of this to consider as well. Not all the counties have a uniform adopted policy. Some allow people to put in their own and sell the property, others do not. It really is crime across the board as far as a creative process being followed by various counties. So that is just another little bit of information on this.
Can I comment on that? I don't think that's so much the issue of who develops it, just so long as the house goes there. But there are some folks in the county that don't appreciate somebody putting in septic systems when that taps their source of income as well. I mean, there are people that pay the fees, go to the courses, do all the things they have to do, and become certified to put systems in, rather than using kind of a vague exemption to be able to put it in themselves. So, you know, if you want to line up all the installers and ask them what they think, they all would rather see everybody installed, everybody have to either be certified installer and not, necessarily even allow homeowners to put it in, because you end up having more problems, difficulties down the road than you do if somebody that knows what they're doing puts them in. So, it's not that the lot can't be developed and the house can't be put on, but, it does take away from the income from those folks that are working in the county installing systems. So I think there's two sides to that.
And it still leaves you in there that a homeowner can still put his
Oh,
own
sure.
in it.
Mhm. A homeowner, somebody that's planning on living in the house. Yeah.
Other comments?
I think the feedback I was getting, I know the feedback I was getting was not so much that it is assumed it can't be done. So I think the word can't needs to be not part of the discussion. The comment is other counties try to encourage the development of an already platted subdivision for the benefit, for the economic benefit of the community. And so they have opted not to adopt regulations that would not encourage that development. So that was kind of the other side of the issue, and Julie's absolutely right. There's definitely two sides. Of course, the professionals who do this for a living want the business, which is why businesses are in business. But of course, your do-it-yourselfers want to do it yourself. One of the commissioners told me that we're a do-it-yourself state, and that's why they voted this, more regulations down on this. So, there are two sides. I will vote against these changes based on that, based on the feedback from other commissioners, because I do think we need to, at one point we had 4,000 undeveloped lots at the southern end of the county. We need to get homes in there and people living there so that those lots are not a drag on our economy, but are an asset and a net plus to our our economy. So I think there is a process to find, there is supervision with our county sanitarian review process. So that's the feedback I got, and that's my leaning on this, just to throw that out for discussion.
Well, the regulations are the same, whether it's a homeowner putting it in or a certified installer, the regulations are all the same.
Yep.
Could I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
This ruling is only.
Identify yourself so that,
Pardon me?
identify yourself so that it gets picked up.
I'm Gordon Cascadon.
Thank you.
Okay. This ruling has come about because of me. Nobody else in the county. But this rule is gonna affect everybody in the county. We have to go by the regulations when you live in a county. It's because she has some reason to come against me and wanna stop me from putting in systems. She's been there for 11 years. I have never given her any trouble. I have never talked back to her. I'll do anything she wants, is always been my feeling for her. And she has never turned one of my systems down. Never she turned a system down. She's approved every one I've done. I've never heard of one not working. Never. And I think it's a shame that we changed the regulations just to stop me from installing septic systems and put that burden on everybody in the county that ever wants to put in more than 3.
Franklin, comments?
Well, I don't know if it's just against you or not, but it's more common. It worked out the best with certified installers for the whole gamut. That way, any changes that are coming through DEQ, they're notified, stuff. Where if you're not certified, you're not getting that information. That'd be one thing. And like I say, the regulation is saying whether the homeowner puts it in or the certified installer. So I don't really know why the problem is. I just don't see where it'd be a problem myself. I think it should advantage to be certified.
Well, I've had over 15 lots up there, Franklin, and I don't want to hire somebody and pay them to put in 15 septic systems for me. I mean, we make very little on a house to start with, but it's just taken that much more away. I was certified, and I do put in a good system. I have to, or the people are going to come back at me. And so, I mean, this is what the situation is. I'm doing the same thing if I had that piece of paper that said I was certified. But the reason I don't have it is because she took it away from me. If not, it would be in my wallet. And it's just against me, Franklin. It isn't against anybody else in this county. You never saw another installer or be here but me. And it's plain and it's against me, not anybody else.
Was you certified or was it your boy that was certified?
Oh, no, both of us were certified. I was certified, but when I had my heart problem and I was gone for a month, she was gonna take it away from me. I have no right to do that. She doesn't have that right. And then when she's supposed to notify me in advance when my certification runs out, Franklin, she didn't tell me until the day before, when I'm in Arizona. I couldn't even get back here. And so I quit doing them for other people, so it didn't bother. I can still put them in for myself. Now she wants to stop that. And it's not right for her to say, I'm not going to give you another permit. She doesn't have that right. She's using her authority and she's power hungry with it. That's not right for her to say, you're not going to get another septic permit. But she did that until she was ordered to give it to me. I mean, and then she waves a check in there, so I'm not even gonna process it. I'm not even, why is she acting like that with me? I've done nothing to her, nothing. I don't know where her problem is at. Maybe some of you can ask her, why does she dislike me so much? And you know yourself, you can't get into a D box with no water and start turning all of that stuff. Once it's been leveled, it's leveled. But you gotta have the water. Why would somebody do that? I mean, you can ask that question.
I guess I'm
She
not
came up to
understanding.
inspect the last system I put in, and she says, well, they're not level. The water is in the bottom of it. I showed you in those pictures. I have them here, I can show you.
I know, that's why you put the water in there, right?
Yeah. But then she gets it, they're not level, and they were. And she starts turning them all directions in there. And she messed them all up. Why? I mean, I don't know why. Why does she want the D box at the top corner, at the highest corner in front of the first run, when it's not in the regulations? Put it in the regulations if that's what you want. That's what she should be doing, is changing that ruling and put a regulation in there that says the D box should go over the first run at the highest point. I had a lot of fall and I had it at the second point, and she went berserk.
Normally only are at
And
the
it's-
highest point.
It still has a 6-inch fall. I don't think I showed you that. Let me show you this, because to me, this is really important.
I wish she was here to state what her idea,
She says if the D box settles, then it's not gonna go to the first line of trenches. If you look at this line is a level line with the what do you call those? Now my mind's gone blank. The infiltrators.
Infiltrators, yeah.
Infiltrators. So look at the fall. This is level. Look at the fall on that. And this is the fall going to the first one that she's talking about. That if this box settles, and it's way back here, if this box settles, it's not going to get fluid to the first one. And you can see the line, how it's going downhill. Stuff that she's writing on my permits.
Yeah, but once it comes out of the D box,
Uh-huh.
then it can. That D box is what's pertaining to the flow. So that D box is what keeps it even. So that's why on those slopes, they use the D box, and once you come out of the D box, and you slope the line down.
Sure.
And then your infiltrators are,
Uh-huh. It's a 6-inch drop from that one to the other one. I know that. I know it's a 6-inch drop.
which it can be.
But it's not gonna settle 6 inches. I mean, it's gravel and we pack them all down. We pack them. My son,
I guess, well, I'm not gonna argue, I don't know what the,
what would you say was wrong with that? Let me ask you that question.
well, from what I can see, I don't think, as long as your D box is up here,
Uh-huh.
this fall doesn't make any difference. but then your infiltrators stay level.
They are.
Yeah.
They're straight, they're just a straight, we use a laser. You use a laser?
No. So was there a problem, did she say that you had too much fall?
No, no, she said if the D-box settles the first run,